welcome to today's episode where we're going to dive into the fascinating world of influencers and the profound impact that they have on our sense of belonging and love. A little bit different today. In our fast-paced digital world, think about building connections with influencers and how they have become more than just a marketing strategy. It's really about creating a community where individuals like us are feeling recognized, appreciated, and valued. You know, when you add influencers to your network, it's really not just about expanding your professional contacts. It's really about fostering relationships where you can provide such a deep sense of belonging and acceptance. Wow, I'm feeling some weird feedback today in my AirPods. I flew all day yesterday, and so I've got some craziness going on. But firstly, influencers with their wide reach, think about it. Influencers have such a wide reach and connection base. And I talk about this all of the time. They have credibility, visibility, and they can significantly impact the perception of your brand or your personal endeavors when they acknowledge and they support your work, which I want you to get this because influencers want to help you do this because it resonates not only with you, but their audience, enhancing your credibility, can't get that out, your credibility and your visibility. When working and collaborating and supporting influencers, this is a validation from a respected figure in your industry or your community that can be incredibly affirming, making you feel like that you are a valued member of a much broader network. Because as you start getting these connections with these influencers, you feel and become part of their network because you start getting introduced to people that are in their network. You know, moreover, these influencers have the power to create a narrative that resonates with their audience. You know, telling stories that are authentic and engaging, storytelling, or this story, I'm having a difficult time this morning. This storytelling aspect can make your brand or your personal journey more relating, more compelling, and it draws people in, creating a sense of a shared experience and connection. You know, I'm going to share a story with you that just happened this week while I was at the PodFest and Capshobians Live conferences that I had the opportunity to attend this week. Such a profound experience. But beyond just the professional benefits that you get, is such a psychological impact and influencer engagement that you get from being with these types of people. It's so profound. It creates such a reciprocity that you get when you give to these people. you get back in return. And it may not be immediate, but it happens where both parties have a mutual investment and enrichment with each other. You know, it goes beyond just that you're receiving from these people. You give back to them in return. You have something in your toolbox that you can share with these people, whether it's through your storytelling, whether it's through a connection, whether you have something, whether it's a tip, it's a strategy, there's something that you can give to these people, and it's meaningful to them. So I want to share with you a situation that happened. I was sitting at a table just waiting for a friend of mine to come back and join me as she was having a meeting with someone else. And I had this individual sit down at the table. Unbeknownst to me, he was waiting for somebody else to finish a meeting that they had. And so he just asked me, "What do you do? What are you up to? Do you have a podcast?" And I just began to share with him, "Yes, I have a podcast, Influence and Growth Mastery." And he's like, "Wow, that's interesting. What's that about?" And I said, "I interview successful entrepreneurs and I share their story." And he's like, "What does that look like?" And I said, "Well, what does success mean to you?" And he's like, "Well, that's interesting." And I said, "Well, success is packaged differently to all types of people." So I began to explain that success can mean money to some influencers. It can mean that you came from a terrible background and you survived it, came out on the better end of the deal. That's success. It could be that you started at the bottom of a company and you rose to the top. That's success. It could be. And so I just began to explain all of these could be's. And he's like, "That's interesting." And I began to, during all of that, build this relationship with him. And after I began to have this conversation, he asked me, "Well, what's your success?" And so I began to share with him I had many. And so one was I became an executive director of a bank without a college degree. And so that sparked a lot of questions. Well, do you think it's easy for women today to do just that? And I said, yes, but it takes connections and influence. Hence what I do today, Influence and Growth Mastery. And I help people get more visibility, more influence, more connections to grow their income. And so we began to talk about that. And so we began to talk about other successes and why I left banking and started my successful entrepreneurship. And then we began to talk about what he did. And he helps people with their story. And he's a ghostwriter. And he asked me if I ever had the thought of writing a book. And I'm like, "No, I don't. I don't want to write a book." And he was like, "Well, why?" And so as you can see, I'm an influencer. He's an influencer. And we began to talk about these connections that we can help each other with. And that's how easy these things start. And we began to feel this connection together, this love, this reciprocity that it can start. And so by adding influencers to your network, you don't just amplify your message, you tap into this powerful source, this emotional fulfillment and belonging. And our conversation, what I thought was just going to be a short conversation, all of a sudden I start getting these text messages. "Where are you? When are you going to join me? It's time for dinner. And we both got so caught up in the message that before it was over, we're exchanging contact information because we figured out how we could help each other in our connection referral base, in our influence. You see how easy it is to start with one short communication, one short story. And he began to tell me, Tonya, there's so much in your stories that you have that can help so many people get from where they are to where they want to be. And so I have to tell you, I walked away from our conversation coming back to this week to so many big ideas. One person can be an influence to what you have, to what you can do, to where you can go, to creating a space where you feel loved, where you feel valued, and to feel like you can be a part of something greater than yourself. Never feel undervalued because you are valued. Never feel like you're not a person of influence because you are a person of influence. Never feel that you are lacking of connections because they are there. Never feel that you're not a good connection because you are. And if you are looking for like-minded people or need to know how to build more visibility, more influence, and find greater connections, let's connect. Let's figure out how we can do that for you. Join my community of influence and growth mastery. Find me on Facebook. Find me on LinkedIn. Join my community. And let's see how we can work together to get you the visibility and the influence that you are looking for, the growth in your income that you are looking for. My links will be in this description so that you can find me. But I want to help you to grow in your influence, grow in your visibility and your connections. Let's move forward together. If you have not already subscribed to this podcast or this YouTube episode, do it now. What are you waiting for? Life is looking for you to grow. And thank you so much for joining this podcast, Influence and Growth Mastery. Until the next one, see you again soon, my friends. I love you.